Today, I'm going to talk about 3 signs that you are wasting your time in a relationship. Now, relationships can be really complex, and we don't always know when we should stay or when we should leave. And so a lot of my clients have maybe a seesaw of emotions. They overanalyze, and I've refined 3 different signs that tell you it is time to cut and run. Just a reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you find any value in these videos. Now let's get to it. So the 3 signs that you're wasting your time in the relationship. Number 1, and this is a big one, if you or the other person is not willing to do anything to improve upon the issue, then that is a sign that the relationship has run its course and it's time to leave. So if you've been in a relationship with someone, say for maybe a year, or maybe 5 years, and the same patterns keep coming up, and these patterns are creating resentment, contempt, indifference, any of the things that are driving the connection to parts. If you're noticing this in your relationship, you have to recognize there needs to be some action, some commitment to changing and improving the structure. Now, what that can look like is reading a book together, going to couples therapy together, something to try to aid in repatterning this cycle so it can be beneficial. But if you are willing to make the investment, not with money, with time, with energy, and if they aren't willing to do it, then it is a sign that you don't care enough about the relationship to continue. And so oftentimes people come to couples therapy and it's very clear one person is committed to the process and they have hope that things will change. And maybe the other person's really resistant because they don't think things will change. They've written it off. And if this is your experience, maybe you're the person resistant or the person who is in the relationship with a resistant person, that is an answer in and of itself. If you know things need to shift and you're willing to pay or invest or focus time and energy to make that change, and they are not, they have shown through their inaction that they aren't in it. All relationships take work. It doesn't have to be hard work all the time, but consistent action, consistent refinement, trying to improve the pattern and the dynamic together, that takes commitment and that takes work. And if only one person is doing it, you're holding the burden, the whole relationship on one pair of shoulders when it needs to be with 2 people holding it. And so that is, if someone's sitting in front of me and I can tell that they don't care, I can tell that they already think nothing is going to improve it, then I will reflect that in session. I'll say, it doesn't seem like we can go any further if there's not a little bit of hope, a little bit of faith, a little bit of desire to improve things. So nothing can change unless you start thinking things could change. And if you're experiencing this in your relationship, I think it's time to really consider, is there anything we can do to continue to improve if both people aren't willing to put the energy? Number 2, you don't want the same things in life. If you've been dating someone and you deep down know that there's things that they want, that in their grand vision that they want in their life that you can't see any part of. Now, what the subject that tends to come up with this is kids. And so people will date and one person will say, I absolutely don't want kids. And one person will say, well, I'm indifferent to that. I could go either way. But that person really thinks, I want kids. Maybe they'll change. And so if you are really honest with yourself and you say, they really, really want something different than I, like in the case with kids, or where you want to live, or how you want life to look. In ideal relationships, our goals, our aspirations, our vision for the future looks the same. They don't have to be the exact same, but that they're really compatible. And so if you're dating someone and their best vision for themselves, you can't see yourself in it at all, that's a sign that you're wasting your time in a relationship. It doesn't mean that there's not a connection. There doesn't mean there's not chemistry, but that there's not enough compatibility. And so being able to share your vision, have similar enough goals to see a clear future with the other person means that you have compatibility. And compatibility is necessary for a relationship to go long term and for both people to be satisfied. So if you notice that you're faking some of the answers that the other person wants to hear, so they think that you're on the same page with them, that's not sustainable. So a healthy relationship, you don't have to sustain, or you don't have to fake, or you don't have to pretend what you think is important. It's important because that's not going to be sustainable. And eventually that's all going to crumble down. A really stable, healthy relationship needs a solid foundation of being really aware of what wants you have, what is really important to you, your similar values. And so if you're in a dating process and you are clear about what you want for your own life, at least part of it, if you know what your aspirations and your goals are, share them really, really honestly, because the people who are supposed to be in your life are going to have compatible ones too. The third sign that you're wasting your time in a relationship is that they consistently bring out the worst in you. When we're around our person and the people who are supposed to remain in our life, they're going to have a tendency to inspire us. We're going to see how they move through the world, and they're going to have aspects that are really inspirational, that make us sit back and say, oh, I want to be more like that. I love that skill. I love that virtue. But if you're with someone who's bringing out the worst of you and you're bringing out the worst in them, that's a sign that there's no inspiration there, that maybe there's not enough mutual respect. And I know a relationship has devolved to a point of being really, really toxic when both people are acting in a way that is so outside their morals and their value system. And so often I'll hear someone say, I've never fought this way before. I've never done this. I've never gotten so angry. And that can be a sign that something deep down is being drawn out and needs to be healed. But that's not going to happen frequently. That's going to happen very, very infrequently, very occasionally, like once every couple of years. So if you're in a relationship and you notice that you're constantly acting like your worst self, you're letting your lower mind take over, you're sitting in your ego, it's a sign that you're not in the right relationship. Yes, oftentimes we can have the worst side of us pop up. But like I said earlier, it's only occasional. And there are certain dynamics. I know there's been relationships I've been in where I am just not my ideal self. It's because something within them and something within me is being activated, and the dynamic in and of itself is toxic. And that there's not enough inspiration, there's not enough mutual respect, there's not enough goodness to be able to sustain a relationship like this. So you want to be inspired by the person you're dating. If you're in a long-term relationship, you want that mutual respect. And you also want to maintain the highest virtues of yourself. So if you feel like the worst side of you is being drawn out and the worst side of them is being drawn out, go get some work, go get some support. See if there's something in the dynamic that can be reactivated or rewired so you're not drawing that out. But if it's happened over and over and over and there's nothing fixing it, it's a sign that you're wasting your time in your relationship. Those three things are really important red flags when you're dating or in a long-term relationship with someone. And why I think it's so important to know these is because it takes a profound amount of energy to be in a relationship that deep down we know is not right for us. And it's on us to have the awareness and the insight as to what we need in order to be the best version of ourselves. I've said often that the quality of our relationships impacts the quality of our life. And that's the relationship to ourselves, to our close friends, to our significant others, and to the universe at large. And so if you're watching this, it's your responsibility to be able to understand, is this a relationship? Is this a container that's actually going to allow me to continue to progress in the best of way? And if any of these three things are happening, it's a sign that you're actually wasting your time. And it's okay. Breakups cause pain. It takes courage. It takes so much strength to be able to let go of something that isn't all bad. Most breakups happen in relationships where there's some significant bad or significant incompatibilities, but it's not all bad. And that's what makes breakups so difficult. But if you notice these three things, it's time to have courage and trust that you deserve something better, and that better relationship is going to help you create a better life. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.